Hello, my name is Brian Smith and welcome to my office. You can watch this seminar as a YouTube video or listen to it as a podcast. And if you'd like more detail, then you can get a supporting article at my website, which is linked below. These seminars are about the life sciences industry, which I've worked in for 40 years. I research the evolution of business models and strategy in our industry, and my aim today is to tell you something that is new and relevant and useful. If I manage to do that, then please like, subscribe and share with your colleagues. And if you want to know more about my research, then get in touch and we can chat about it. It's become fashionable in our industry to talk about the life sciences industry as an ecosystem. But if you listen carefully, you'll realise that the word's used very loosely. It's hardly ever used in the precise scientific sense of a complex adaptive community of entities that interact with each other and with the external environment. This is a great pity because the ecosystem paradigm is very useful in practice. So in this episode, I'm going to give you some ideas about how an ecological perspective addresses real-world challenges in the life sciences market. If this interests you and you want to know more, get in touch and I'll send you the article. To use ecological thinking to understand the life science industry, you first need to understand two fundamental things. The first is that ecosystem is a wide concept. It's much more than just pharma and medtech firms. This means that you have to consider everything in your firm's sociological and technological environment. Second, all parts of the ecosystem interact in a complex manner. This means that you have to think about change emerges from this complex interaction. Once you grasp those two ideas, you can start to apply ecological thinking in practice. A good way to do this is to think about the parallels with biological ecosystems. There are 6 ideas on biological ecosystems that apply very directly to the life sciences industry. First is speciation. You're probably familiar with the idea that biological species diverge. That's how we have over 8 million species of life on Earth. But the same is true of business models. We used to talk about the pharma business model or the medtech business model, but my research now shows that there are at least 26 different business models in the life sciences industry. Now this is important in practice if you're planning to change your business model. The second useful idea is that of holobionts. In biology, holobionts are networks of organisms that work together to survive. So a coral reef is an example of a holobiont. In biology, of course, building and maintaining a holobiont is a critical survival skill for most organisms. The same is true in the life sciences industry, where holobionts compete, not individual companies. Now, this is important if you're trying to understand the competitive advantage. A third idea is that of the Keystone Species, which are species that tie ecosystems together. Bees and starfish are examples of Keystone Species. In the life sciences ecosystem, for example, elite universities and teaching hospitals are some of the Keystone Species. Understanding these Keystone Species is essential if you're trying to change the market. Niche constructions when species modify their environment to help them survive. Beavers dam building is probably the most famous example of this. In the life sciences ecosystem, some companies do this by influencing, for example, exclusivity laws. Understanding niche creation is important if you're trying to shape your market. Habitats are regions with specific characteristics that are populated by specific species. So desert, forest, grassland and ocean are all examples of biological habitats. The life science sector has at least 9 habitats and many sub-habitats within those. Understanding habitats is important for planning growth and for anticipating competition. Holism is the idea that any change always leads to direct and unintended effects, so you can only manage a system holistically. The use of pesticides was an example of this, and in our industry, changes in government policy often have unintended consequences. Understanding holism is really important when making strategy in the life sciences. So ecological ideas like these are really useful in helping us to understand the life science industry. But most life science companies don't yet think ecologically. So the question is how to begin. Thinking ecologically has to be learned over time, but if you work in pharma and medtech, there are 3 good places to start. The first is to think about all of the parts of your ecosystem. It's bigger and wider than you think it is. Second, stop thinking that your market is like a machine where A causes B. That's not the way the markets work. Third, think about how changes emerges from complex interaction in your ecosystem. Simply put, because our industry is a complex, adaptive ecosystem, the ecosystem paradigm isn't just the best way to understand it, it's really the only way to understand it properly. Thanks for joining this seminar. If you found it worth your time, then please like, subscribe and share with your colleagues. If you'd like to read my article about the ecosystem paradigm in pharma and medtech, then please see the link below, where you can see hundreds of other articles too. Better still, let's have a cup of tea and chat either in person or virtually, and you can set that up on my website too. I'd love to hear from you.